What is going on, everybody? It's been a while. It is Thursday night. It's 6 p.m. My name is Paul Spencer. Of course, I'm with that man, Dan Connor. Dan, how we feeling?
Pretty good. Pretty good. On an off-topic thing, the Braves got knocked out. That's a different subject.
Oh, Dan,
Another loss for my team this week versus your team, but we'll talk about that. But
yeah, I mean,
pretty good. Pretty
at
good.
least we can agree on the Braves, man. I mean, Dan, I know this is the NFL weekly chat show, but man, the Braves, it really bothered me, Dan, when Chris Sale said he couldn't go, in a do or die
Uh,
game, but at least start the series. You know what I mean? Like
That's Chris
blowout
Sale
series.
for you, unfortunately. On to
Yeah,
next season.
exactly. On to next season, Dan. We'll be back in March. So you know what? Hey, we got another season. Injuries plagued us this year, of course. Acuna, Spencer Strider out. Plus, it is what it is, Dan. But
It is what it is.
Dan, it's been a while, man. The reason why we haven't been on is myself. I had some personal issues that I had to deal with in my life regarding my home. So we're back, Dan, and I'm so glad to be with you tonight. Dan, usually we pick games and we break down the games, but I figured this year, Dan, we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to do this every week now. I think, Dan, I think we pick your favorite game of the week, my favorite game of the week, and of course our teams in our division that we talk about, your Giants, my Cowboys, and then we'll pick 3 to 4 games this week. Dan, how you feel about that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, it's a little too late to start pick'ems. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah, start picking games, but we'll give our thoughts on that sometimes. But we'll just NFL chat is fun. It's NFL season. Even
definitely.
though my team is sucking big time right now, but that's the way it is in New York Giants land. So
Definitely. Well, if anybody's out there watching, and we have 8 live viewers right now. So if you're watching out there, let us know your favorite team. We can talk about your favorite teams as well. We cover all the NFL. We're not just Cowboys, NFC East, Giants. We love all teams. That's why we talk about it. This is something we love to do. So, Dan, well, Larry Burke checking in. Larry Burke's actually one of the hosts of the Part-Time Marks every Tuesday night at 10:30. You can check him
what's
out
up,
on Live
Larry?
About Sports. Make sure you check out that. If you're an NXT WWE fan, check him out. Great guy to the network. Great host. All right, Dan, how about you open this up? Because I'm going to give you the floor. What game was your game of the week last week, Dan?
I'm going to say the Minnesota Green Bay game.
A tale of two halves?
Because it's a tale of two halves, and you figured in the first half it's going to be a blowout, and then Green Bay did a great job, came up short, but
Yeah.
it's a hell of a second half, and you didn't expect that,
Man.
and the Vikings end up being 4-0, but it was a hell of a game. Definitely a tale of two halves for sure,
Dan, the
and
first
I
thing
like games like that.
yes, I love it too. I mean, the first half is like, okay, you know what? It is what it is. And the second half is, like you say, a tale of two cities, Dan. But Dan, first, before we get into this game, can we talk about Sam Darnold? Dan, did
Yeah,
you honestly think he would be 4-0? Sam Darnold, Dan. Sam Darnold.
I did not think that they would be 4-0 without a doubt, but they got
Wow.
some good weapons. They got they have Jones at running back, they have Jefferson, they have
Mhm.
Addison.
Yeah,
They are a talented offensive football team,
they
but
are.
I think he is definitely playing pretty good. He was 20 of 28, 275, 3 touchdowns on a pick.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's pretty good. And this is a guy, Sam Darnold, that you were, you know, throwing in the trash. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
agreed.
Like you figured, no, but if Galaxy Indoor gets some protection,
Hmm.
and they have weapons,
Great.
they have, it's definitely helped. But he's playing outstanding this year,
Dan, before we get into it, I mean, you look back when he was like with Carolina, he was a bomb. He was a high draft pick, couldn't solidify his career.
and they had
But
no one.
exactly, that's the thing too, Dan. They had no
You know,
weapons. They sold the farm. He comes here, just like you said. Aaron Jones coming over, huge running game there. You have Addison, you have Justin Jefferson. We know what he is, Dan. And now he's showing, like, you know what? Give me an offensive line. Give me a little bit of time. I'm going to put up points and I'm going to win games for you. His thing was, I can't read a defense. Remember his thing, Dan? I see ghosts in that Monday
yeah,
night football game. Well, you know
yeah,
what? Now you're seeing open wide receivers because you have weapons and you have the time, Dan.
yeah. He had some really nice throws. Like he was
He
very
did.
consistent. Like I watched almost every throw he made, and he was pretty solid. That he really had a couple of risky ones, but he put it on the money, when he needed to, and
Yeah,
they had a hell of a first half,
he did. He did.
and
Definitely
and the
did.
second half was different, but
Mhm.
Green Bay's also a talented team, and they, but I think that you know they did a good job coming back, but just came up short.
Agree.
You know,
I mean, the one thing too, Dan, he's spreading the ball around. Like normal
yep,
quarterbacks when you come into a game, you're looking at Justin Jefferson, 10 to 12 times a game, but Jefferson 6 catches, Addison 3, Aaron Jones 4, Naylor 1, Munich 1, Oliver 2. He's spreading the ball, Dan. 20 receptions in the game, and he had 7 wide receivers he's connecting to, Dan. So
Yeah, a touchdown from
downfield.
Jefferson, a touchdown from
Yeah.
Addison,
Mhm.
touchdown from Josh Oliver, and
Yeah.
Addison averaged 24 yards per reception in those
Yes.
3 receptions.
Well, he's that deep threat, Dan. We knew, coming out of USC, he's going to be that deep threat guy. And what better
Yeah.
way to have, Justin Jefferson demanding the double field, that safety over the top, when you have to run a double high safety when you play these teams now, especially the Vikings, because Addison is the more speed guy than Justin Jefferson. He can take the roof off, Dan. So it helps out this team so much and then you bring in Aaron Jones, of course, Dan.
Got a comment here. Larry Burke says all the players thought they were washed, just needed time to develop in the right systems.
Right system, 100%. Right
that's why I was
yeah.
hoping for DJ, but
well, that's another story, Dan.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll go through my misery later in the show.
Yeah. Well, Dan, let's talk about 28-7 in the first half, Dan. Let's talk about that second half. Just like you said, Tale of Two Cities here. 28-7. Let's talk about that second half, 22-3. Jordan Love exploded, Dan. Exploded.
Oh yeah. He had 3 picks, and I think a lot of them were in the first half.
Yes.
And remember, they also had a punt go off their hands.
Yeah.
On special teams, and I think Minnesota. So it was at the end. It was close to the end of the half.
It was like it was like the last possession. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Minnesota scored off of that.
Exactly.
So it gave them a little momentum going to half, but he had a better second half. 32 of 54 for 389, 4 touchdowns, and obviously they're all. I just think that they had a hell of a half, and they made some adjustments on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Reed had a really good game for them. He spread the ball too. Jalen Reed had 7 receptions. Wicks had 5. Kraft had 4. Tucker Kraft. Dobbs had 4. Josh Jacobs had 4. So that's pretty solid. Wicks had 2 touchdowns like that.
And Dan, the crazy thing about this, I mean, we look at these names of these wide receivers. We talk about Jaden Reed. We know what he is, Dan. We know what kind of wide receiver is to the draft. We know him. But the thing is, look at the veterans here, Dan. Romeo Dobbs has been in the league for quite a few years now. Musgrave's been in the league. Watson, he was their number 1 wide receiver last year, Dan, if you think about it. One target, Dan. He's not even playing in these games yet, really.
Yeah, it's just the way the game went.
Exactly.
They have a good young core besides a couple guys, but but Jordan Love has been pretty solid this year again. Like they had a rough first half, they came up a little short. But the bad first half cost them, but it was a good job hanging in there.
Yeah.
And only giving up 3 points to the Vikings in the second half. So they made some really good adjustments on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And for their Packers defense, McKinney's been playing
really well. Yeah, and Dan, this game here, when Aaron Jones, used to be with the Packers, he goes to the Vikings here. He has a great game, 22 carries, 93 yards, average 4.2. But then you bring in Josh Jacobs to the Packers here. I mean, he didn't have a bad game, Dan. I mean, to me, it was a mediocre game for him.
5.7 a carry.
But you know what? They take what they give him, Dan. 5.7 is nothing to be ashamed about. I mean,
that's pretty solid.
And plus on the backfield too, Dan. I mean, you look at his catches too, 4 for 27. That's actually good too for a running back. They haven't missed a beat with Jones versus Jacobs, Dan. They haven't. But do you think, Dan, that what did we see from the Packers here? Honestly, do you feel that this is a team that if they can get down, they can come back and solidify the game, or have they put together the perfect game here, Dan? They lost it.
I don't think they need to play perfect. I think they need to play consistent. You're not going to get down 20-0 in a good amount of games and come back from that deficit.
Agreed.
Typically, that's not going to happen, but it shows they have some resilience. Mm-hmm. It shows that they could hang in there. Because they were getting their ass kicked, the first half, and it shows that they made the right adjustments and they're able to recover.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time you don't want to be down by 28. Now if they're down by 14 or 10 points, it gives them some confidence to come back in a football game. And I'm also surprised, at the Vikings being 4-0. No one thought they would be 4-0.
100%. I mean, Dan, let me ask you before we move on to the other game here. My game. With this game here, the Packers, was it a blessing to see the rookie J.J. McCarthy go down? Because, Dan, let's think about it. If J.J. McCarthy was starting for this team, which he was slated to do, really, the way he was progressing in camp, What do you think your record would be with a rookie QB?
One and three, probably
I
1-3.
agree. I agree.
I think they would have won one of the games like our game. They might have won. Who knows? McCarthy may have been solid. They have weapons, but he's still a rookie. I think Sam Darnold has learned from his experience. He's been around the league. He's been counted out. He's kind of got a chip on his shoulder. So, I'm happy for Darnold to finally, his career, have some success.
Yeah.
And now you're going to stick with Darnold. Now you're going to stick with him the whole season. And, and if he's pretty good and they go into the playoffs and win a playoff game, he'll be your starter next season, like going into next season.
Agree.
And JJ McCarthy's going to be coming off an injury as well.
True. That's very true. I mean,
good for Sam Darnold and the Vikings. They're definitely one of the surprises this season in the NFL. It's a solid win versus a division rival, even though I don't like that they only scored 3 points and gave up 29. Being up like that kind of concerns me a little bit, maybe versus a better team.
Yeah.
Because when you're up 28 and you only win by 3, that's not how you want to win a game. A win is a win, though. So.
But Dan, regarding that, just like you said, they're giving up that many points. Do you think it was letting the foot off the gas tank, Dan, or it was just great adjustments by
Well, I would say both.
Okay.
I would say Minnesota really did execute in the second half, but obviously Green Bay made adjustments.
Oh, they did. 100%.
That it's obvious,
mm-hmm.
and I think that's somewhat impressive that they're able to do that.
Okay.
But that's how some games go. It's a tale of two halves sometimes.
Agreed.
Sometimes one team has a great first half. And then they have an okay second half, and the other team comes back on you. But maybe they took their foot off the gas a little bit because when you're up 21-0, you're like, But it goes to show you can never take your take your foot off the pedal. You got
this is the
points.
Yeah, this is the NFL, Dan. No lead is secure anymore. We know that. We've seen that happen many times. But Dan, I want to flip it over to my game of the week here. I want to talk about this Ravens-Bills game, Dan. Dan, the Bills coming in 3-0 look like, my God, we don't need Stephon Diggs. We don't need him. We're spreading the ball around. We're looking great.
Oh, they do.
They do, Dan. But coming to this game, I actually took the Bills in this game coming in. I'm like, man, the Ravens struggled. They gave up 20 points against us in the fourth quarter.
The Ravens.
I'm like, Dan, 35-10. But the one word I want to say, Dan, or 2 words, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, Derrick Henry is tough to stop, but he had a hell of a game. He is he's not the easiest player to stop, and that was the problem for them. And Josh Allen had no touchdowns in this game.
Yes, 16 for 29.
16 for 29 for 180.
Isn't it crazy that Derrick Henry had more rushing yards than basically the entire 30 yards less than the entire Buffalo Bills offense did? 199 versus 240 basically. 40 yards off. That is insane, Dan. On 24 carries, 199, 87-yard touchdown, Dan. And did you see the speed that he had on that breakaway?
Yeah. It shows he still has. Derrick Henry was an absolute monster in that game. Yes. He ran averaging 8.3 a carry.
Well, Dan, this is back-to-back games for him. He did that versus the Cowboys. He had a $150 versus the Cowboys. And you know what, Dan? The key to this game, you got to give Derrick Henry the ball, get the 8-9 guys in the box, and then let Lamar Jackson go one-on-one with the outside receivers and corners. Because what was the thing? Okay, you're going to stop the run. They had good running backs in the past, but now you have Henry.
Not like Derrick Henry.
That's a different animal in the backfield now, where this guy can go against 7, 8, 9 in the box and leave your safeties one-on-one. And that opens up so much because you have Lamar Jackson can run the ball. You have wide receivers that he can throw to. But now he can set up the play action first, Dan. Do you think they're finally finding out the key to success here? Feed Henry and then take what the defense gives you later on?
I think so. I think it was going to take a couple of games for him to get comfortable and then to gel a little bit. You got to gel with your offensive line, especially a running back, you kind of learn how your offensive line plays in front of you with the tendencies. But that's what I would be doing. I would be, because you got to worry about Henry, you got to worry about Jackson. But what I like about having Henry is you don't got to depend on Jackson to run the ball as much as he did. He will run the ball, but when he has to, when you have to get a first down or when the field opens up, you might as well take it. So it's less wear and tear on Lamar Jackson. And I think having Derrick Henry helps him stay less banged up. But that's why I love the signing by Derrick Henry in the offseason. I thought that was an outstanding move by them. And they haven't had a running back as good as him in a while. And with someone like Lamar Jackson, he only was 13 of 18 for 156, 2 touchdowns, but it's efficient. It's not prolific, but it's efficient.
Exactly.
So the Ravens, the Ravens just dominated in this game, and the Bills, like they're gonna have a rough season, man. Like it's gonna be rough for them.
I agree, Dan. My thing is they're really being led by freshmen.
Even though they're 3-1.
Yeah, they're being led by freshmen. Dan. Khalil Shakir, he's a young guy too. I mean, he's leading the Buffalo Bills. But Dan, we talked about last year doing the show. Of course, you and I so many times. We talked about Keon Coleman, Dan. What is the issue with him not finding? He was benched last week because he missed a on-time meeting or something, showing up to the game, so he was benched the first quarter. But Dan, what is it? Is it just a freshman guy, a senior coming into the league here? Why isn't he getting the ball, Dan? We know what he did at Florida State. What do you see?
Maybe he's not picking up the offense like they want him to. Maybe he's just not. Maybe he's not catching on. He's extremely talented.
Yeah, agreed.
It could be that maybe Josh Allen's not comfortable with him. Maybe they haven't fully gelled yet. Maybe they don't have that chemistry yet.
Yeah, I agree with that one, Dan, because there was that one back shoulder throw where, a veteran would have ran to the sticks, turned the shoulders there, he would have threw it. Because the one play where, I think it was this game, Dan, where he went, and it was like a 3rd and 9. He went 15 yards and then went downfield. Josh Allen threw it to the sidelines like nobody was there, and then he just shook his head. I guess that is the rookie guy, coming into the league, Dan, and saying, I still don't understand the philosophy of the NFL. It's not college anymore.
But the one thing you notice is that the Bills' offense is different without Diggs. It's just it's such a big difference.
But one thing is, Dan, we talked about spreading the ball here. When Diggs there, you are just like with the Cowboys, Dan, CeeDee Lamb. Everybody has that number one target. Malik Neighbors for you guys. We have that number one target. But this year, the Bills don't have that number one target. Dan, Shakir, Coleman, Kincaid, Cook, Samuels, Hollins, Scandling. He's spreading the ball around, Dan. That's what's different too. But this game, Dan, the Ravens defense gave Josh Allen no time at all, Dan.
Oh no, they gave him no time, and they didn't allow him to run the ball. He only had 21 yards rushing.
Exactly.
They allowed him to get out of the pocket. They contained him. If you can contain him and he's not able to run the ball, doesn't have those prolific weapons. That's kind of what they depend on. They depend on Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the guy that's going to lead them.
Agree, 100%.
Losing Diggs is just huge for them, but they're still 3-1. So,
well, Dan, going for this game here, how do you feel about the Ravens moving on? I mean, we see now, Dan. I think the key word here is the key phrase is they finally found a way, the philosophy to win. Feed Derrick Henry the ball, but then on the opposite side, the Bills were 3-0 coming to this game, Dan. They got demolished. They got manhandled. They got outcoached.
Exactly.
Everything. How do you see both teams moving forward, Dan?
I think the Bills will be all right.
Okay.
But I'm concerned that they get outworked, out hustled.
Physical. Okay.
Like if they're going to deal with a team that's very physical like that, I think they're going to have trouble. Their offense but they have had some good offensive games.
Agree.
But the Ravens are one of the better teams that they've faced, and they got their ass kicked.
Yeah, they were
for the Bills. You want to hope it's a learning experience, and for the Ravens, it now they're starting to gain a little bit of momentum. Because they were 0-2 at one point, I think.
Yeah, exactly. They lost their first 2 games of the season.
So they back to 500 for them, but now Derrick Henry's starting to get the hot hand. He's starting to really get going, and when he gets going, even though he's an older back, when he's on top of his game, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Dan, the last 2 games, 350 yards. The last 2 games, Dan. Cowboys and the Bills, 2 good defenses, Dan, and he did that. You know what? Feed the guy the ball because it opens up so much downfield with the weapons you have. The best friend is the tight end, Mark Andrews. He hasn't really been used at all. And you have Lamar Jackson, with the legs that he can blow the roof off any team if he wants to. The lane's there. He's going to make it.
Yeah, I think the Bills will be all right. The Bills got the Jets next.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll be all right. I think the Jets. I think the Bills should make the playoffs. I guess when you go 3-1, 4-0, you have a real good shot to make the playoffs.
Well,
So
Dan,
we'll
you
see
got to
how it goes for both teams.
consider that division too. Miami's doesn't even have a quarterback; they're getting blown out. The Jets are still struggling, and the Patriots, we don't know what the hell they are right now, Dan. So I mean, you can go 9-7, maybe
exactly.
really 9-7
within their division. I think. I mean, they're leading their division, aren't they?
Yeah, 3-1. I mean, the Dolphins only won one game, if that, if I'm correct, somewhere there. But yeah, this division.
Obviously, the Patriots are not going to challenge them, so they'll most likely win that division. I thought it was going to be the Jets, but
I did too.
I don't know. We'll see how they play. They play this weekend coming up. So
yes,
we'll see.
Well, Dan, you know what? There was one other game. Let's get into this game here, Dan. My team versus your team. I'm just going to say it first, Dan. I am very appreciative that your Giants actually hung in this game. I really am. Coming from the last 4 games, Dan, it's been an out ass kicking. But I tell you what, Dan, I'm going to be honest with you. The one thing I want to say about this game, honestly, it was one hell of a game. It was an NFC East game, Dan. But, Dan, I'm going to tell you really quick, I'm going to be very honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand refs, Dan. I can't stand it.
Oh,
that face mask, Dan.
Oh, my goodness.
And Dan,
on the wrong team. That cost us a drive.
Yes, it benefited my team so much, Dan, to take points off the board. But you know what? As a true NFL fan, Dan, and a lover of the NFL, I was so outraged. I'm like, you call a legitimate face mask on the team that was face mask a pawn, Dan. A pawn.
And we were driving, having a really good drive.
Oh, my God.
If we could have gotten at least 3 out of that.
It would have been a different game, Dan. It would have been a different game.
You're in a situation where you're kicking a field goal to win the game by 1 point.
Yeah. Did you honestly think Danny Jones would have 281 yards against the Cowboys team?
No, I thought Jones played well. To be honest, I thought he played well. I know people have been shitting on him, but I thought he played fine. I don't know if I could necessarily. There are a couple of play calls that I didn't really like. Like there was one deep where it was like a 50-yard throw, and he was like double teamed. It was to Neighbors. Yeah. I don't like that play call because that's not DJ. That's like elite quarterback arm type play call.
Yeah, that's like dropping the dime in the basket.
He took a couple easy throws, but I thought for the most part Jones played well. I thought Neighbors played really good. I thought the defense played well. I thought Thibodeau played really well. Unfortunately, they just didn't have enough offense and didn't really execute like I wanted them to. But losing by 5 when you got beat 40-0 and 47-17, at least they competed. At least they were in this game. Yeah. And I know it sucks to be 1-3, but our offensive line is better. At least that's a positive for us. But still sucks to be 1-3. It'd be nice to beat Dak Prescott for once.
It's not going to happen. Well, we got one more shot. You got one more shot, Dan. But Dan, I joined your Big Blue Power Hour on Friday night, Thursday night to talk about with you guys, the expectation of this game. The one thing that I was scared about, Dan, the Dallas Cowboys do not run the ball. Not a bad game, not a good game. 23 carries, 80 yards. But Dan, the one thing I want to ask you is, I thought Singletary would blow this offense up, Dan. This defensive line for the Cowboys. Dan, can you explain to me 24 carries, 26 yards for your entire running back committee? What?
I don't know. For some reason, the offensive line really didn't block very well as they did in the running game in the previous games. Obviously, Dallas's front is better, but they didn't run block very well this game. There were a lot of plays where you had 2 guys blocking the same guy.
I can see that.
Two plays where 3 guys were blocking the same guy. So there were a lot of plays. They pass block well, but their run blocking was not very good.
Yeah,
and Singletary leaves a lot to be desired, but I think they're calling the runs also in the wrong situations. Sometimes they'll run when they shouldn't really be running. I think they should be using Jones's legs a little more, to be honest.
He had 4 carries for 3 yards, Dan. That's not Danny Jones. Danny Jones is that guy that can scramble, get out of the pocket as well. But you look at Singletary, Dan, 14 carries, 24 yards. But the crazy thing, the longest game, Dan, was Danny Jones and Singletary, 5 yards, Dan. That's insane.
Yeah, that's just not good enough.
No,
absolutely not good enough. And I don't know if that's why they lost it. I thought Jones played well, no touchdowns. Malik Neighbors played really good again.
Yeah.
He had no touchdowns, but Malik Neighbors was outstanding. He 12 receptions, 115 yards. Like that's his second or third 100-yard game. Might be his third.
I think he's the NFL rookie that's the highest in the 4-game process, first 4 games of an NFL career, leading the league there, Dan. But Dan, I'll tell you what, Wan'Dale Robinson, 11 catches, 71.
Yeah, I like Wendell Robinson. I love Rob. I think Robinson is really solid in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
And they spread the ball around, but I think Neighbors drives everything. They're trying to get the ball to Neighbors, but Wendell Robinson is pretty good. He's going to make a lot of plays this year.
Yeah.
He's effective.
Let me ask you, where's Jalen Hyatt at, Dan? I mean, one look, one target, no catches. Why isn't Jalen Hyatt getting? Dan, we talked about him coming out of the draft. This kid can take the roof off. Imagine, a 4 wide receiver set: Neighbors, Robinson, Slayton, and a Hyatt, and then you keep Singletary in the backfield. Dan, why isn't Hyatt getting the playing time?
I really don't know. Maybe because Slayton's just more experienced.
Okay.
Because Slayton and Hyatt are very similar. They're both fast.
Mm-hmm.
They're both not the best route runners.
Right.
But Slayton has more of a rapport with DJ. Sure. But I'm not sure why Hyatt hasn't really been involved, really. But sometimes that's the way the games go. But when you have a guy like Neighbors, it's a little different. If they didn't have Neighbors, Hyatt would be featured more, I think. But Wendell Robinson is playing so well and such a good route runner, and can make plays for you that I don't know why Hyatt really isn't playing a lot.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that too. Maybe it is the continuity with Daniel Jones being slated as the
could be he's not catching on to the offense. He's got a lot of speed, but I would spread teams out consistently if I were the Giants. But like I said, the Cowboys are a better team than us. Okay. But I thought the Giants played well. I thought their offensive line played well. I thought DJ actually played well. You just didn't get a win. It's unfortunate we just can't beat Dak Prescott.
That's true. I mean, we talked about the wide receivers coming in here, Dan. Malik Neighbors 12 for 115, no TDs. Lamb 7 for 98 with 1 TD. They exploded. We knew that was going to happen. But Dan, one thing I want to ask you about your team really quick here before we move on to this week. You look at these targets, Dan. 38 targets for Danny Jones combined total for the game here. 29 of them went to Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson, Dan. There's got to be some open guy when you can pick your poison outside the Neighbors, Robinson. You can't go wrong. But Dan, do you think you got to spread the ball a little bit more? 15 targets to Neighbors, 14 to Robinson. There's got to be another guy, Dan, because both safeties are committed to one side.
Yeah, I do. I do think that they need to spread out a little bit more, and I'd like to see the tight ends involved a little bit. Like I'd like to see Theo Johnson get.
But one
use the tight end.
One target to Theo Johnson, Dan. One tight.
Yeah, they haven't used the tight ends like all year. Like they haven't really used them at all, hardly.
I don't get it.
And I would, Theo Johnson. There was a play where Theo Johnson was open. You could throw a corner post to the end zone, like to the right corner of the pylon, but Jones didn't see it. And he didn't pull the trigger. But I don't know if I can blame Daniel Jones for them being 1-3 exactly. Maybe for the first game.
Do you think they're over-targeting Malik Neighbors? I mean, the guy
yes.
12 out of 15, Dan.
Yeah.
12 out of 15.
Yeah, I think so.
But, I think so. Cowboys. Yeah, I always said this with the Cowboys, Dan. You always look CeeDee Lamb's way. You're forcing the ball.
Yeah.
But do you think this is something that's got to change, Dan? I mean, 12 for 15 is not a bad game at all. Wan'Dale, 11 for 14. Not a bad game. I'll take that any day. But that third wide receiver, especially your tight end, you have to get them looks, Dan, because they're going to be open in the second level.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would run more screen plays because I think they seem to do well at that. But like I said, for 4 games now, the tight end has not been featured or schemed or anything like that. It just for whatever reason, Dable's not using tight ends. When he's using tight ends, it's when we're running the ball or something like that, or having max protection. But it was much better than I thought. I didn't know what to expect. Unfortunately, Neighbors got a concussion at the end.
Yeah.
I thought Dak played well. He's 22 for 27, 221, 2 touchdowns. That's solid. It's not great, but it's solid.
He's not forcing the ball, Dan. He's not making the stupid, idiotic mistakes that he usually does in the fourth quarter. He's managing the game. Take what the defense gives you. If it's not there, throw the ball away. Live another day. Don't take the sack, which is great to see this year from Dak. He's excelling in a certain way as a not elite quarterback. I'm not going to put him there, Dan. Last year he had great numbers, but I'm not going to put him there until he shows me what he can do in the playoffs. But Dan, are you surprised? My God, Greg Joseph, 5 for 5, Dan.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's pretty good.
Or are we pissed off more? I mean, he's a great kicker, got 5 for 5, 15 points. Your entire scoring roster there. But what is the issue with the red zone, Dan?
We're not very good in the red zone. I kind of don't like the play calls in the red zone.
I agree. I think that's what it is.
There was one play call where they threw a swing pass to Robinson at the 11.
Yes.
We beat him to the corner. I don't like that play.
Whoa,
I don't really like that. I don't like that, and I don't like go into the end zone. Throw it into the end zone.
Exactly.
Or scheme something where you get neighbors open, or run something else.
I agree.
And that's the only thing I could say I don't like is Dable doesn't call good plays at times. Some of the plays don't really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of 50-50 with his play calling this year, but Giants are 1-3 again. They have one win and on to week 5. I just don't know.
Agree. Yeah, I mean, overall, Dan, it was a good game here. I mean, of course, we watched the game there. Of course, we talked about it. I had the privilege of jumping on your show. It was a great game. You were right, Dan. You said it was going to be a low-scoring game. I said 31-20. You progressed it a little bit lower. You were closer than I was. But, NFC East, man.
I think I said 20 to 24-20 or
yeah, I think it was a 3 or 4 point game.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Exactly.
But I find it interesting that they had I just find it just sucks to be a Giant fan right now. I can't say I'm going to blame Daniel Jones for everything.
He's playing a lot better, Dan.
You have lots of Giant fans that are done with him and have been for a couple of years. But I don't know if I can blame him. The offensive line's been solid.
Mm-hmm.
Jones has been better than he was last year.
The crazy thing is, Dan,
but their run game sucks. Their run game's horrible.
Not to cut you off, but somebody sent me this today. I don't have it in front of me, Dan. I wish I would have screenshotted and kept it with the show here. But you believe that Danny Jones has better numbers than Jalen Hurts in the last 7 games or last 7 games of the season versus the first 4? So the last 11 games of the season, this year and last year, Danny Jones has better numbers than Jalen Hurts. But nobody's talking about Jalen Hurts, at all.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, I think is solid. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. He's got a shit ton of talent around him.
Right, but you look at the numbers versus, what Danny Jones, no offensive line. Eagles had the best offensive line in football. They have weapons in Philadelphia. Danny Jones didn't have anything except this year. You look at all those things, never running game, you lose Saquon, but your numbers are still better than Jalen Hurts in the first 4 games.
Yeah, but his rating's only 80. That's probably from the first
game.
Yeah,
that's true.
I think the play calling hasn't been very stellar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I still think it's going to be his last season here.
You think so?
Yeah. Yep.
That's going to be
I've got some comments here.
That's going to be a hefty price tag on a dead space, Dan. That's going to be a hefty price.
Larry Burr, I agree with this. Larry Burr says Daniel still staring down wide receivers is his biggest problem. The only reason he's successful is when corners are playing far off. I can see what you're saying. He does that do that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that. But I thought he didn't really make that mistake as much this last game. Yeah. I thought he was a little better, but I get what you're saying. He needs to give that money back. It is a new field. The field is a year and a half old.
Well, Dan, there's a lot of injuries. Parsons got the injury. DeMarcus Lawrence has got an injury.
What's his injury?
On his ankle, twisted his ankle, high ankle sprain, Parsons. So we'll talk about that game, of course, coming up with the injuries.
He gets into the trenches a lot, so I don't know exactly how it happened.
Yeah, I think it was just like somebody twisted it as he was coming down. Honestly, that's what it looked like.
There's injuries all over the NFL.
Yeah, that's not the field. Though. That's not the field. I can't put that on the field. So, yeah, not at all. I wish I could, but
I wish we could give the money back and could have done something else. I wish, but nope. Over $40 million this year.
That's true.
47. It's like something crazy.
The dead space is 47 million.
Hold on.
Wow. They was playing 10 yards off and Diggs was following. See, that's the problem with the Cowboys, though, Dan.
It's tough. Like,
well, Neighbors has that speed, that get off speed. Okay, he has that. But when you have Diggs, he can play man on man. But you got to remember, if you're going to do that, you have to have a safety in the back that can cover if you get burnt. That's the thing that with Neighbors, I think a lot of teams are going to play off of him, Dan, honestly, because they've seen what he can do off the ball, speed. He's physical. He can high point balls at any time. Did you see how many injuries I showed from that field in group chat? Are you kidding me? Yeah, there's a lot of injuries. I mean, it did get better, though. They didn't do turf, though, this year, Dan, didn't they?
Yeah, they did it last year.
Okay. Maybe it's just a curse of MetLife, Dan. Maybe that's what it is,
I don't know. I prefer I like the old stadium better.
I do too. Well, Dan, let's move on to, how about we move on to this week here? I think you got a game. I think we talk about this game here. I'll let you lead into this game here because this is your game. Dan, Texans. I had them from last year, Dan, progressing a little bit further. I think we both did, Dan. But the Texans, what in the hell is going on this year, Dan?
I think it's just a rough start for them, to be honest.
I mean, Dan, 3-1 is nothing to be pissed off about. 3-1 is nothing to be pissed off about.
I think they'll be all right. That's the way it was last year. They were like that last year. Last year they started slow. They that's the way they were last year. They came on from the second half of the season on. But I think they'll be fine. I still think they're winning 12 games at least.
I do too, but
I think they'll be fine.
Going in this game here, Dan, I'm looking at the depth chart. I wrote everything down here. Joe Mixon's questionable. Okay, Tank Dale's questionable. Larry Tunsil's questionable. Scruggs is questionable. 3 guys on the offensive line. Dan, we're talking left tackle, center, right tackle, all questionable. Both your running backs, Dan, are questionable. Joe Mixon's questionable. Damian Pierce is questionable. Then you go into Cam Akers, who can still play, Dan. But Dan, the team is really banged up right now, and CJ Stroud is not having the year like I thought he would have with his weapons. But do you think it's because of what do you think it is, Dan? Is it sophomore jinx? People have film on you. What do you think the difference is? 3-1's not to be pissed off about, though.
I think that could be part of it. You've had a whole off season. You have a lot of film on him now. A lot of film how they run their offense. Getting Diggs makes them even more dangerous, obviously.
He does, Dan, but think about it. With Buffalo, he was, I hate saying the word cancer, but he was like a cancer in the locker room. I want the ball. I demand the ball. But here in, Houston, he comes and takes this big contract. They release him. He goes their trade. But they're still spreading the ball, Dan. Do you think that once they figure it out, getting chemistry with Stroud and Diggs, because, Dan, they have the weapons, man. They have Nico. They have Diggs. They have Tank. Schultz at tight end, and Mixon when he's healthy. Dan, this team, 3-1 could, turn into a 15-2 once they put this together, Dan.
Yeah, they could easily have a season like that. I think they're that good. And 3-1's an excellent start. And this week you have a matchup between a possible playoff matchup.
Yeah,
these two teams could end up playing in the playoffs.
I agree.
Depending how it shakes out.
I agree.
But I do think the Texans will have a higher seed. They'll be a 1 or a 2 seed.
I think so too. I mean, I do think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they win a division, Dan. But this Buffalo game here, to me, it's what do you see are the keys of this game? Because to me, the Texans got to overcome injuries first, Dan. They got to be healthy.
Yep.
And you know what? It's better to have the injuries in the beginning of the season. And what better way to be 3-1, Dan? But I'll say when they put together a healthy game and a Houston Texan game, a systematic game, this team could be unstoppable. Do you think the Bills have a chance to win this game?
Of course. I think they do have a chance to win the game. Absolutely.
Okay.
They don't have Diggs, and they don't have I can't remember the other guy they don't have. But they've made the playoffs consistently. They've made it pretty far a couple of times. It's not where they want to be. So I do think they absolutely have a chance to win this game. I don't see why not.
Okay. The Texans have that huge defense, Dan. I mean, they are stacked on defense. Their safeties are nasty. Their front seven is nasty, Dan. I mean, there's not a weak link on that defense. And this is going to be, a homework game from Sean McDermott, the head coach there. He's got to go back and look at that Ravens, Dan, because they really, you think about this, Dan, they similar in a mirror between, the Ravens and the Texans here, but they got a great quarterback. Their defense is stout, front and back. They can get after you. They got to look at that film, Dan, and say, you know what? We got to run the ball. We got to establish a run here to take what they give us and then open it up because they have to find the lanes, Dan. They have to find the lanes for Cook and Ray Davis. They have to find lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. They have to be able to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think the Bills can be one side. Josh Allen needs to play much better.
Agreed.
He needs to have a much better game for them to have a chance to win this game. And you know, I think the Texans are the better team right now. You know, but it's obvious that the Houston starting to get a little momentum, is starting to play better. And you know, I think it's going to be a pretty solid game. I think it's going to end up being a closer game than versus the Ravens.
Okay. I mean, I'm looking at it now, Dan. The favorite's very close on this game. It's Texans -1, so it's like really a pick 'em game.
It's almost a pick 'em.
Yeah, exactly.
Could end up being a high scoring game, even though I'm a little suspect of the Bills' offense, you know, versus the better teams.
Yeah, if it was me, Dan, if I'm the Bills here, I have the weapons. I have James Cook, of course, who can get downfield. Shakir, Coleman, Matt Collins. To me, I'm going 3 wide, maybe running a double tight end with Kincaid and Knox at the same time, Dan, because I think I'm going to spread you out. Because you think about it, if like with the Ravens, Dan, you have Lamar Jackson. You spread a team out. You have Lamar Jackson to get you yards. You know what? Hey, at 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, there's no other quarterback that I can want to run up the middle than Josh Allen, Dan. I mean, he's a fullback. He's a running back fullback. You know, a hybrid guy that can do it. We know he can run the ball. You don't want him to run the ball, but spread the field.
It's part of his game. It's part of his game, though, not entirely, but it's part of his as an NFL player, as a quarterback. It's part of his game.
Well, you remember Dan last year. You remember last year they struggled all year. Then Joe Brady comes in, lets Josh Allen be Josh Allen. Look what happened, Dan. You know, give the play call to him. Hey, he wants to run the ball. Don't take something, a God-given ability away from a quarterback. He wants to do it. He can do it. He hasn't been injured. Give it to him. And look how they progressed last year, Dan, getting into the playoffs when we didn't think they were going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is going to be one of the better games of the week.
I agree.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
I don't think so either. What do you have to score on this, Dan? Which way are you going?
Man, I'm going to say 28-21 Texans.
28-21. I'm going to go a little bit closer here because the injuries is key for me with the Texans here. A lot of injuries on both sides of the ball. I think it's a lot closer than I really expected. Full healthy-wise, I'm going to go Texans by 13 maybe. But
yeah, if it was fully healthy, I think they beat it by 10 or more.
Yeah, I'm going to go 20. I'm going to go, man, I think it's low scoring, Dan. I think this defense shows up, especially after last week. Bills more. But I'm going to go 26-23 Texans, Dan. Close game.
I think it'll be under 30 points.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Both.
I think so as well. Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, Dan, you know what? How about we talk about a game here? I think your team's playing before mine, Dan. So how about we talk about your team this week? The Giants go against the Seattle Seahawks. The 12th man is going to be in the house in Seattle, Dan.
Oh, man.
What do you feel, Dan? I'll sit back and listen for this one. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, Malik Neighbors might not play.
Yes.
So that's going to affect him. I know they're going to test him. They do it a couple days beforehand. I know he's been in the protocol, but I haven't read a status today on it. But they're going to test him one more time, I think. And if he doesn't play, I don't really like the Giants' offense unless someone really steps up, because the Seattle's defense is solid, and especially offensively, the Giants are going to need to score 28 to 30 points, 28 points at least. They're going to have to score over at least 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game, in my opinion.
Agree.
It's just Seattle's offense is really good, man. Like, they have the 2 good running backs. Their wide receiving core is ridiculous. I got a feeling this might be a game where the Giants are, going 3 and out, and giving the ball to Seattle. And Seattle's a good football team from top to bottom on both sides of the ball. I'm not feeling too confident going in, but you never know. I'd like to see if Jones plays well, if someone else can step up. Maybe Hyatt can step up and do something, because he'll be right in the top 3 receivers if Neighbors can play. If Neighbors can play, I give them a better shot to win this game.
Oh, I 100% agree. If Neighbors, coming off that injury, Dan, when he laid on the ground, Dan, I thought it was more violent than it was, seeing him lay on the ground there face down. But if he doesn't play, Dan, I'm looking at the depth chart right now. Wan'Dale Robinson is a little bit questionable too. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, but typically when you're questionable, you play.
I mean, they got Neighbors listed questionable. I mean, do you think it's going to be a game time, decision where if he can go,
it's either going to be a game time decision or they're going to make it like tomorrow or in the next day or so.
Okay. Well, Dan, let me ask you this. Coming in this game here, you're 1-3, of course, right now. Do you think, Dan? I mean, listen, I want to be honest with you. Seattle's a different animal, Dan. I don't think you have a chance.
Oh yeah.
Is this a game where you say, okay, you know what? Hey, Malik, listen, Robinson, here's the deal. Singletary is questionable too. Do you think this is a game, Dan, where I hate saying it? Do you think this is a load management game, Dan, where you have really no shot to win? Let's get everybody healthy for the middle of the season. Do you think it's one of those games, Dan?
Maybe, but they're 1-3.
I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, get healthy, right? Get healthy.
I agree with that. If you're talking about Neighbors, yes. If you're talking about Neighbors and you are unsure and iffy, then don't play him. Because his health is important and you want him to play most of the season. You want to have him be out or get re-injured, have another concussion, be out like 8 weeks. Or the rest, you know what? If that happens, that's a disaster for the Giants, in my opinion. I'll say it's had derailed his career, but that's something you don't want. That's bad news if something like that happens.
That's what I mean. I think you want to protect your number one asset, Dan, and that's Malik Neighbors right now. He's the future.
It depends. I don't know how he's doing. He seems to be okay, but you never know with concussions. You never know with those things. And it just sucks. It was on like one of the last plays of the game.
Yeah, and that's what got me. I'm like, oh,
and that throw, I'll just comment that Jones made was ridiculous. Hit him right in both hands.
It did. It was a great throw. I mean, a timely sideline throw.
I don't like that he got a concussion. And versus Seattle, you're going to need every weapon you have. Last year they could have beat Seattle. They fumbled the ball twice.
Now, looking at the depth chart, Dan, I'm looking at it right now, just as updated just now here on ESPN. The Seattle Seahawks have 8 players on questionable, Dan, on the defense side of the ball. I mean, this could be a game where they're questionable.
It could help us.
It could help you.
Some of the defenders around could help us.
But then you look on that offensive side of the ball, Dan. I mean, you played the Cowboys last week. You played a great game, but, God, Dan, they have a running game. They have Kenneth Walker. They have Charbonnet, okay? Wide receivers, Metcalf and Jigba. Lockett's questionable. But then you have Chenault, a rookie coming in. He can blow the top off any time as well. Noah Fant, and the offensive line is healthy, Dan. Healthy.
It is healthy, and the defense got to play an outstanding game. And we'll see if the Giants get Drew Phillips back for this game or rookie nickel corner.
Yeah.
He's a solid player, I think. I think Newman's been solid, the rookie. But you're going to need a big game from Dex, Thibodeau, and Burns in this game.
You have to.
And that secondary is my concern in this game because they are facing the best wide receiver core they faced of the year.
Yeah,
Their wide receiver is better than Dallas, better than Washington, better than Minnesota. It's better than Cleveland. It's better than every team they've played.
Yeah,
it's one of the top receiving cores in the whole NFL.
Agree, 100%. You go to Minnesota, you got 2 wide receivers. Dallas has 1. The Commanders have 2, really.
We have like 1.
You guys have 1. But
2, I'd say. Wendell Robinson, I think, is good.
But Seattle has 4. Seattle has 4 going down to Chenault being 4. That's something.
Exactly. But if some of their defensive players out, their key ones, that will help us.
Agree.
But the Giants have to play their best offensive game of the year. Their best offensive game they played in a season and 4 weeks.
Okay. Well, Dan, I really know how to attack this game because there's so many injuries. Let's do it 2 ways, Dan. If Malik plays, I don't know what his health is going to be, Danny. Is he going to be a decoy? Is this going to be a game time decision? Get out there and give me what you got. But let's just say, he's out there, Dan. He's making his plays. What do you think the score of this game is? I'll go first. I'll go Seattle. Wow, Dan, I hate saying this for you, brother, but it's going to be a 1-4. But, man, I'm going to go 33-17, Dan. Seahawks.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
I'm going to say 30-17. No, wait.
Okay.
I'm going to say they're such a good offense.
They do. That's what I mean.
I don't think the Giants' defense has been horrible.
No.
I'm going to say 35-16.
Wow, you got a 19-point game. I got a 33-17, 16-point game. All right, so we're almost about a 3-touchdown game, Dan, pretty much, I guess, right?
Well, actually, I should say if Neighbors doesn't play, it'll be like that. If
Okay.
Neighbors plays, I think they can get 20.
All right, so we're going to 35-20 basically right in that area. Okay. All right, still losing by 2
If they
touchdowns.
don't play, they're not going to score a lot of points, in my opinion. They have no run game whatsoever.
Yeah, 26
You got no
yards.
run game, and the other team knows you're going to pass. You got Dale Jones back there. I'm not very confident with that.
Yeah, if that's me, I'm just going to put a spy on DJ to get out of the pocket and just run a spy on him, take away your wide receivers because you know you're not going to run the ball. So pick your poison what you want to do. We'll play into what we do. We need Neighbors. Is she saying the Jets need Neighbors? Is that what she's saying?
Maybe.
You need a lot more.
They need their quarterback to play well. Larry Burke made this comment before. Yeah, I was impressed with that game too last week. But it also showed that Seattle's defense.
Yes. There was some
the offensive team, did they struggle?
There was some huge third down conversions by that defense, Dan. It got them off the field. You know, I give credit to that
exactly.
Defense,
so that was one of the better games. We want to pick too many games because it'll take forever to talk about each one.
Yep.
But in this game, that's the only I think I could think of is Seattle's defense struggle versus Detroit, but Detroit's much better on offense than we are.
That's true. I mean,
by a long shot.
It's you're playing a solidified team with weapons, and you're downgrading playing a team with no weapons, and they're questionable too, Dan. So I'm still going to go. I'm going to go 33-17. I think there's a couple of charity points at the very end.
I think the Seahawks are going to win this game. I do. Going into it, but who knows if maybe DJ could have one of those games out of nowhere. Who knows?
Well,
maybe you could force a couple of turnovers. Maybe you get a pick six. Maybe you could, capitalize. The field goal kicker I feel a little bit better about, but you get 4 touchdowns in the red zone. You
can't win a game with 15 points scoring 5 field goals though, Dan. You got to get in the red zone. You got to score in the red zone.
It's the same. Like we're the first team ever to score. Like in the Washington game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just. But a lot of Giant fans are like bowing out at this point. If the Giants could win this game, they play. Who do they play next? Forget.
And Dan, there is no runaway. There is no runaway team in the NFC East right now, Dan.
No, I would say definitely not. Definitely impressed with Washington.
Yeah, after last week, they showed me something. They showed me a little bit.
Yeah, but I think if Seattle and the Bengals and the Eagles and the Steelers.
It's not an easy schedule. It's not an easy schedule, though.
Not that part of it, no.
No. Well, Dan, how about flip it over? Let's flip it over to my team here. Let's talk about the Cowboys versus the Steelers on Sunday Night Football here. I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers first, Dan. 3-1, okay, with Justin Fields. He's doing his job. He's managing the game. And the crazy thing, he's not turning the ball over, Dan. And he's not.
No.
That's the thing with him. Everybody's saying, he can't read defenses. He wants to run first, but Dan, he is finding wide receivers on his field. I mean, Pickens, Jefferson, Calvin Austin, he's finding receivers, and he's not turning the ball over, which, Dan, when you have one of the best defenses in the NFL, that's how you win games, and that's why they're 3-1.
Exactly. And he could run around the pocket, escape the pocket. He's very shifty. He get your first down with his legs. When those quarterbacks run around like that and scramble like that, you find open receivers eventually.
Dan,
open guy,
agree.
It just happens. You can only cover a team for so long.
Agree. And that's
you can only do it for so long.
When I coach, I coach offense, but when I used to tell my defensive backs, I'm like, listen, it's the hardest player out there on defense is your corners because you're not going to chase the guy for 5 seconds, Dan. You can cover 1, 2, 3, get the ball out quick, but 5 seconds, you have a scramble quarterback. That's just a pass happy. Getting open, let him find you because it's so hard, Dan, when you have a running quarterback. Like a Justin Fields that can get out of the pocket, that can run on you and can score anytime with his legs. Lamar Jackson being the same thing. But I give so much credit to Justin Fields here because he was traded for really a 5th-round pick, Dan, a 5th-round pick. Regardless if Russell Wilson's injured or whatever his injury is, he's the number 1 quarterback on this team, Dan. He's given the options, he's given credit, and he's taken advantage of what he can do, Dan. I mean, Najee Harris is really showing up too. Jaylen Warren is a big back, Dan. A big back.
Oh yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he's doing what he needs to. They have a good defense. He's playing responsible football. He's not playing prolific, but He doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
You
Now
know, he
they
doesn't
did
need to be that way.
they did lose last week, Dan. They lost Troy Fananua on the IR. He's something with an ACL or something. He's
That's
on the
kind of rough.
IR now. Yeah, their pick there. He went on the IR this week. So Broderick Jones is stepping in, but still, Dan, that's the right side. That's not Justin Fields, left side or blind side. But it's easier to get away, Dan, when you have a running quarterback playing, at quarterback, and you have a tackle go down because he has wheels to get out of there, Dan. He has wheels, especially.
Yeah, and now you see like that, like people, but I thought getting Justin Fields was a good move. Give him a new start, give him a fresh start, start all over. He's on a better coach team, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
Far.
100%.
And that goes. Someone like Tomlin has good coaches. They've had solid coaching throughout, and that's really key for Fields. I think it's helped him. I do think Russell Wilson helps him because he's very experienced.
Sure. And the thing is, Dan, we always talked about, with Justin Fields there, coaching goes a long way. And we talked about Mike Tomlin, never had a losing record in the season. Last year we talked about him. It is impressive. And they play for him, regardless of the record. Hey, we need to win this. And Tomlinson, Dan, is that player coach where, Dan, if you're having a bad game today, I'm going to pull you inside. Hey, listen, he calls him son, all the players he calls son. Hey, son, listen, I know you're having a bad game, but look, I believe in you. That's motivation, Dan, when you have a player like that and a coach like that believes in you. Just words go a long way, Dan. They really do. But I think Dallas is really in for a struggle this week, Dan, because Dan, I think possibly defensive player of the year when he's 100% healthy.
Oh, their defense is good,
it's nasty, TJ Watt.
Yeah, and
in addition, Patrick Queen at linebacker.
Yeah, I think Watt's going to be an issue for Dallas. And they play well in Pittsburgh. They play much better home than they do away. If this was in Dallas, I think Dallas wins this game. But I'm not saying Dallas can't win, but I think Pittsburgh's going to win the game at home. But I do think it will be close. I do think so. But the Steelers are tough at home. And if you're Dallas, you want to get a win.
Agree. I mean, I think this is going to be a test here. If it was in Dallas, and we talked about even last year when I said, Pittsburgh is a different breed at home. The one thing I can say is a blessing is there's a couple injuries on that side of the ball. They did lose the left tackle, of course, a couple injuries. But Dan, this is a Sunday night game in Pittsburgh. That team plays 100% better at nighttime on prime time.
That's true. Absolutely.
I don't know what it is, Dan. It's just I think this is going to be a loss. I won't say but I won't give you my score. But going to this side of the ball for Dallas, Dan.
Whoop. Up there goes Paul. Obviously, as a Giants fan, I want the Steelers to win. But we'll have to play Steelers later in the season. I don't know what happened to Paul. I think there he is. Whoops.
Sorry about
Whoops.
That. Yeah, I tell you, man, it's hotel internet, man. That's why it's scary. But I'm thinking like, oh crap, what the hell happened here? But
yeah, I was just saying I'm rooting for Pittsburgh, obviously.
I disappeared like the Dallas Cowboys injuries, Dan. That's what I just did. You know what I mean? Honestly, if you think about it, But
disappeared like the Giants run game.
That's true too. I mean, 26 yards, Dan. I mean, I at least I showed up before 26 seconds. You know what I mean? But let's talk about this Dallas team, Dan. Okay. Still, Dan, no running game. Now, okay, they did activate Dalvin Cook, is what I'm hearing, possibly.
I think that can help if he stays healthy, because he's a different type of back. If he stays healthy,
he is, Dan. But Dan, okay, you have a physical running back like Zeke. You have a kind of a physical back like Rico. What is it, Dan? Is it just the chemistry between Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, Cooper Beebe, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele? Do you think it's just we don't understand the scheme of the run block yet with what we have? What do you think the issue is, Dan?
Well, what do they zone blocking run scheme? Like what's the run blocking scheme?
No, they don't go back. Remember how Denver used to use the Kubiak system, the run block, that there?
Yeah.
They don't do any of that, Dan. That's what they need to do, because when you have rookies up front, it's easier to play man on man and just call out. You have left tackle either has two guys, defensive end or defensive tackle. You know how to commit there. But the one thing I've seen when teams stunt and twist, Dan, I love Cooper Beebe. I had the privilege to talk to his dad many of times where, we talk all the time. But he gets lost, Dan. He gets lost. And I understand he's a rookie, Dan. I get that. But
yeah,
you got to work on this. We got to work on the offensive line, because 2.4 yards a carry, Dan. Man, you can't win games with 2.4 yards a carry, Dan.
It's stuff that we have a better running game than Dallas does.
Yes, that's what I mean. I mean, it's so bad, Dan. And on
Yeah.
the defensive side, Parsons is going to be out most likely. He is questionable. Doubtful is what they're saying with a high ankle sprain.
That's big. That's
It's
big.
huge.
Like Parsons out is gigantic.
Dan,
and if he don't play,
and DeMarcus Lawrence is on the IR.
He might be out like 4 weeks.
DeMarcus Lawrence is on the IR. Jordan Phillips is on the IR, Dan.
But Parsons is the guy.
He is.
Without Parsons, man, you don't really got much of a pass rush to worry about at all, especially in Lawrence.
If he's out, Dan, you got to bring in a rookie, Marshawn Nealon. You got to bring in a rookie to take his place, and that's going from a Ferrari down to a Yugo.
You better hope he steps up. Overshott's gonna have to play well. You're gonna have to figure something out. But a high ankle sprain is a rough injury. That's a rough injury to get over.
It definitely is.
Just got a couple of comments here. They activated Cook, Eileen asked.
They said they were going to do it. He's going to be a game time decision to get up to speed. I mean, listen, what do you have to lose, honestly? I mean, your running game's 2.4 yards a carry. Bring him in, see what he can do. I'd activate him right away because he's only making $1.4 million a year this year. What do you have to lose? Bring him in. He's auditioning. Bring him in. You need him. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Another comment. She took Cook in a best ball leagues and late round pick, and this is funny though. One of my best teams sucks now because Tua got hurt, and she had Hill, Waddle, and Cup.
Wow, man. Yeah, I think you have to activate Cook. Honestly, you really do. I mean, you think about the odd man out would probably be, to me, I think you have to go. I think that's why, Hunter Luepke has been playing so well, because you have to have a fullback because we can't run the game. And the crazy thing, Hunter Luepke has more.
The fullback.
Yeah, he has more yards than 3 of the running backs on our team, Dan. That's bad. That's bad.
Yeah, that's the difference between Dallas this year and like the past few years. Their run game is not very good, and when the run game is good, they're way more prolific.
Yeah, this year they're averaging 62 yards a game. Last year we averaged 99 per game, with Pollard.
My goodness.
It's so bad, Dan.
That is bad.
And the other guy that might be ruled out is Brandon Cooks too. He has an ankle sprain as well.
Oh, geez.
And some kind of food illness or illness that he has. He might be out, Dan. So, Dan, I'm going to tell you right now, this doesn't look good for me right now this week. I think we both might be crying after the games on Sunday. I'll call and check on you. You call and check on me Sunday night. But, Dan, I'll let you go first since I gave you my Giants score. What do you see this game being, Dan?
I don't think it's going to be very high scoring. I'm going to say 2017 Steelers.
You think it's that close?
What's the spread?
I didn't even look at the spread, Dan. I can tell you in a second here. Let me pull it up.
I just slips my mind at the moment.
I didn't even look at it.
It's got to be less than 7.
I don't even think I'll take the game because the way they're playing right now kind of scares me with the injuries. I don't know. And let's see, Steelers Sunday night. 2.5, Dan. Steelers are 2.5 favorites. And they have the over under to 44, Dan. So you're pretty much right in that general area right there. You said 23-20.
I think it's going to be under 44 total. You're not going to score 35 points on Steelers defense.
No, especially playing at home, Dan. That takes away a lot of points too.
I don't see the Steelers scoring 30 points either.
Me either. And if Parsons is out, Dan, that's huge for us right now. I mean, that's huge.
But the Steelers don't need to score a lot of points to win games because their defense is really good.
That's what I mean.
You have a really good defense. You don't need to blow a team out. And Dallas is kind of struggling to score 20 against us.
Yeah.
And their defense is way better than ours.
Yeah. Oh God, man.
Obviously, I hope Dallas loses, but
yeah, I hope the Giants lose too. But we're realists, and we talk about the truth here. We know what we don't pull any bullshit on the show. Man, God, oh man, Dan, you're in the same boat as I am. If Malik Neighbors plays, it's a little bit different. You can win the game. If Parsons plays, we can win the game. If Parsons don't play, it's a different animal. It's a different animal.
I'm in the same boat I've been in for like a decade. Besides one season, like 2015 or so. and then 2022 was okay because I was surprised the rest have been awful.
Well, yeah, I can say the same. I can say the same thing about being a regular season, Dan, for 29 years. Play great, but then playoffs. It's been 29 years, so I guess we feel the same way. At least
we've done more. We've won twice in that amount of time.
I know. Thanks, Dan. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you so much.
But it's been over a decade for us.
Hey, we're going on 3 decades, Dan, for me. Okay, 3 decades.
But yeah, I gotta say Steelers. 2017, 24-17, something like that.
Okay, I think
Steelers don't score a lot of points.
I think Dallas has trouble in the red zone here because we have no running game. CD is the only threat. I think it's gonna be an Aubrey game. I think he gives me 5 kicks like you do. I'm gonna go Steelers. 27-23. I think the Steelers win 27-23, Dan. I hate saying that.
I just don't know if they're going to score 27. Have they scored over 24 points all season?
Well, I think the reason why I say that is Parsons out. There's going to be really no pressure on the QB. Hurts can, what's his name? Fields can get out of the pocket. He can scramble a little bit. That might be a big difference for us, too. Kalen Carson, our cornerback since Jerron Bland is on IR, he's questionable. So that brings in CJ Goodwin, who can't find, he can't even find a freaking, whatever he wants.
For example, this is our run game. 99 total carries, 341, 3.4. That sucks too.
3.4. Damn, I'm bitching about 2.
55.3 yards a game for Singletary. Neighbors is averaging 96.5 yards a game, just for reference.
Oh, wow. Dak has great numbers, 1,037, but our leading rusher, Dan, is Rico for 134 yards, 3.9, Dan.
Singletary 221, 3.9, 2 touchdowns, 2 fumbles, 2 lost.
It's bad.
56 carries.
You know what? I'm very sorry. Dallas fans. I said 2.9. Rushing yards. We're 3.5 for the season. Still, that's nothing to
still
lay
sucks.
your head off. It still
you want to be 4.
It's bad.
4 to 5 yards a carry. You want to be in that range.
And you know what? It puts your offense in a downfall. Then you come out of first down, you run the ball, you get 3 yards. You're in a 2nd and 7. You run the ball again. You're at a 3rd and 4 basically. It's so hard to play behind the sticks, Dan, on my team and your team. But I'm going to go Steelers. I'll take Steelers.
I think the Steelers will win in a close game.
I agree. Well, Dan, you know what? We do have one more game tonight, don't we? We have one more game tonight starting in about an hour, basically. So how about we talk about this game here? Dan, let's talk about it. Okay, Falcons versus the Bucs. The Bucs go to Atlanta there, the Georgia Dome here, or what is it called now? The Mercedes Dome now, right? It's Mercedes Dome.
Yeah.
Dan, are you a little weary about this game? Because, Dan, the Bucs shit the bed last week.
Maybe. But it happens. They're 3-1. You're not going to play well every game. So that's. I don't think that's really the concern.
Okay.
But I do think that this is a big game in the division because the Falcons win. They're both 3-2.
It definitely is. It definitely is. But how do you see this, Dan? I tell you what, man, I give so much credit to Baker Mayfield. Nobody won a first-round pick out of Oklahoma.
He's played well.
He's playing well, Dan, and he's not turning the ball over. He's moving the sticks. He's playing with authority. He demands this offense, and I think Mike Evans, Dan, still has a lot left in his tank. I think they have to look at him more. But the guy I want to talk about is Chris Goodwin. This guy,
Chris Goodwin's good. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Didn't he get traded there? I forget if he got traded there. He was originally drafted by them. Goodwin's a good player.
Yeah, I thought he was actually drafted. No, not drafted by him.
Goodwin's a good player, but Baker Mayfield, 984, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks, 106 rating, 70.5 completion percentage.
Mm-hmm. And they have a good running game too. I love Bucky Irvin.
Pretty good.
Coming out of Oregon, he's that heavy back, and I think he gets a lot more carries. Like last week in the group chat, I took Bucky Irvin touchdown. He got one for me, and David, who does the Cowboy Show with me, he's like, why is Rachaad White not getting touches? They were both coming off the injury, hamstring versus food poisoning. But Dan, it goes schematically when you play a team. What is your better option? Because Rachaad White is a good pass catching guy, but Bucky is that speed guy to manipulate teams. And I think he is a good one-two punch there with Rachaad White and Bucky Irvin.
And yeah, not 9 carries.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I think 9 carries, 70 yards, 7.8 a carry, no touchdowns.
No, that's right. That one was called back. He was down at the one. They reversed it. Remember that one where I think if you've seen it, I was like, oh, he scored. There it is. But he was down at the half-inch yard line. They reviewed it. And they pulled him back for like a whatever it was, like a half-inch yard line or something. So
yeah, and they he really spread the ball around. Godwin 6 receptions, Otton 7, Rachaad White 5, Evans 2.
Yeah, Otton's a good tight end. I love him.
But you're keying on Evans.
You are.
You know, so but Baker Mayfield, ever since he went to the Bucks, it's been real solid for them.
Agree.
I think they'll be a playoff team again.
And I like Todd Bowles. I mean, his defense, he blitzes a lot. He puts players in position too. I like him. And I think this is one of the teams where, Dan, if you can control, a 3 to 7 point game and you have the ball late, you have a chance to win games with this defense too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Bucks are solid. I mean, the Bucks were good 3 years ago. They're a real good football team.
Yeah, I mean, they are good. I mean, I give them credit because they hang in games, Dan. Maybe last week is just a letdown. Looking forward to it. Maybe do you feel maybe that was a trap game? Going into that game there, looking forward to Atlanta. Thursday night football, a division game, because we talked about.
The Bucks won last week.
Oh, that's right. They did win last week. What am I talking about? Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They got their ass kicked by the Broncos.
That's right. Yeah, that's what it maybe.
Then they recovered. They beat the Eagles 33-16, which is pretty good.
That's right. I don't know what I'm thinking, man. Jesus. But how do you feel about this game going in? Do you think Tampa Bay is going to win this game? Let's talk about Atlanta first, man. How do you feel about Atlanta?
I think Tampa Bay can win the game. Why not? I don't see why Tampa Bay can't win. I think it's going to be a close game, but I don't think Tampa Bay, I think, is the better team.
You really think Tampa Bay? You think Tampa Bay's better on offense than Atlanta?
I think they produce more, as far as I know.
Well, I think Kirk Cousins' injury has a lot to play in this, Dan.
But yeah,
still,
of course,
he's not Kirk Cousins to get out of the pocket and move. The first game, Dan. Remember first game he played, he didn't get out of the pocket one time, and that's what they did for him. But even when he gets out of the pocket, Dan, that ACL injury, that Achilles is still lingering on him. He's not Kirk Cousins.
No, he's not the Kirk Cousins he usually is. But
right,
I will say that they've been competitive. The Falcons.
They have. I mean, I think it's chemistry getting together.
They lost by 8 to the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Eagles by 1.
Right.
They lost by 5 to the Chiefs.
Okay.
And they beat the Saints by 2. So they've been in every game they've played.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean,
the Falcons have.
Do you give the advantage to Kirk Cousins, or do you give it to Baker Mayfield?
I'm going to say Baker Mayfield because he's healthy.
I agree. Well, let's talk about the running backs. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Aguilar. I like the running backs. You know what? I'll go 50-50.
Running backs are very good.
Yeah, I give it a wash. I give it a pass on both sides. I like both sides.
I'm actually going to say that I think that Atlanta's got a better backfield because of Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, Robinson solidified, 1A guy, the alpha guy, but when you put both of them together, with Robinson and Algier, I like Bucky Irvin and I like the Tampa Bay's running backs, but wide receivers,
they're both solid. I think they both have solid run games.
Wide receivers, Drake London's no joke. Daryl Mooney's no joke. Ray McClellan's no joke either. I mean, I think this is balanced, Dan. I think both teams are balanced on both sides of the ball.
I think it's going to be a close, competitive football game, actually.
You think it's going to be close?
I think it's going to be close, yes. Because the Falcons have not got steamrolled. They don't get run over. They're competitive in every single game. So do the Bucks. Okay. There are two teams that compete. And I think, the Saints are just also 2-2. But I think, for the Falcons to be a big win, and it's a big game. It's a big division game tonight.
Oh, huge, huge.
I think it's going to be a close, competitive football game.
I think it's definitely going to be competitive because, these are the top 2 teams in the division, Dan. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. The Saints are I think that these two teams are probably the two best teams. Carolina's done. So
you're not
not
giving Sam,
done.
you're not giving Sam Darnold any credit, Dan. Come on, you're not going to give Sam Darnold any credit.
Well, he's not there anymore. Carolina.
I know,
but like I said, the Bucks and the Falcons, I think they're two solid teams. And
I'm sorry, I meant Andy Dalton, Dan. Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Come on, Big Red. Come on, Dan. Give him some love.
Dalton's better than what they had, though.
Bryce Young, isn't that something? You sell the farm for Bryce Young, Dan. And look at C.J. Stroud. They passed up Stroud, went Bryce Young, gave up the farm to Chicago, and you benched him in his third year, and he's only won 2 games and 20-something as your second pick or number 1 pick in the NFL. My God, and you're still paying for it with the Chicago Bears.
I do think Darnold's playing well. I will say that, and they've, they got their ass kicked a couple, like 1, 2, 3, 3 of the 4 games, but I think, but the game tonight, I think I'm going to say, let's see.
The line is 2.5. Atlanta's favored by 2.5, Dan, and the over/under is 44 as well. Right.
I'm going to say it's 2. What's the spread?
The spread is 2.5 Atlanta.
I'm going to say Bucks are at home. I'm going to say
no. Atlanta's home, Dan.
I'm reading Falcons at Bucks.
Are you really? I'm looking at Atlanta being home tonight. That's what I thought.
Oh wait, hold on. Apologies.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's on the road. Dan. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think the Bucks are going to go in there and win by. I'm going to say 28-24 Bucks.
Wow, 28-24, huh? Okay. Man, I tell you what, Dan. It's all going to come down to this defense for the Falcons. I mean, Judon's got to play better. He's got to get pressure. Jesse Bates has to play. Their safeties are great.
I think they'll give up over 20 points easy.
You think
the Falcons.
So, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
See, I'm just trying to look at the matchup here. Like, I'm looking at A.J. Terrell is going to be on Mike Evans. Godwin is going to be that second guy that can move into the slot, which is really going to bring Jesse Bates or Simmons come down. He can control him is pretty good.
But also, they only gave up 22 to the Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
But
they just find ways to win.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but they find ways to win. I mean, it doesn't matter. We can play wide receiver with Patrick Mahomes. We're going to get a catch once in a while too. But
I think the Bucks will go in there and win.
Okay, what was your score, Dan? What did you have to score at?
28-24.
Okay, I'm on the other side of the fence here. I'm gonna go Falcons. I'm gonna go Falcons here. I think the Falcons actually explode at home on a Thursday night here. I think it's the Dirty Bird comes out, and I think it's gonna be a 34-24 win for the Falcons tonight, Dan. Going 3-2 and solidifying that division.
Yeah, it seems reasonable. I think the Bucks are the better team.
Okay.
I do think they're definitely the better team.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. I do agree with the better team there. I think Baker Mayfield gets I don't want to say the word exposed, Dan, but I think Judon finally gets after the quarterback this week because they went out and paid a good price for him a trade. They went out and got Jesse Bates. He's solidified too. So and Justin Simmons as well. I think the secondary is good. This is the key factor to me is getting the run game going with Bijan Robinson. And God, you got to find Kyle Pitts somewhere in this field anymore.
Oh my goodness!
You got to find him. You have to.
Yeah, coming into the league, I thought Pitts would be really good, but
me too. I mean,
they don't use him.
What was he was the 8th pick coming out of the draft, Dan, and he just went to the wrong offense at the time. It's just, to me, it's like your running game, Dan, is their Kyle Pitts. You got to find him. He's nowhere to be found. Just like our running game and your running game. Pitts is that same way for the Falcons there. You got to find him. Ways to run the ball, ways to get him the ball. But man, all right, Dan, you ready to get out of here, man?
Yes.
All right, Dan. So, hey, listen, I appreciate it. Next week, Dan, we'll be back again doing this, of course. And what we'll do is I'll put on Twitter, their game of the week. We'll talk about game of the week. We'll let the fans decide one game of the week as well. We'll talk about that game too. But, Dan, I appreciate you, doing the show with me tonight. It means a lot to me, to finally get back into swings, of course. But, Dan, do you have any other shows going on the network?
Big Blue Power Hour tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Okay. Okay, great.
I think 8 p.m. it should be. I might try to do it earlier.
Okay.
But tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I think next week I might try to do the Cowboy show. The reason I don't know if I'm going to do it because my internet is a little bit spotty here where I'm at now. So we'll see if we can do that, of course. But Dan, I appreciate it once again doing this show. We'll be back next week, of course. And Dan, I'm ready to get out of here and go watch some football, man.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to watch some football, and hopefully they're good games there. I think we will. I think they're two solid teams in the division.
I think so. Dan, I want to wish you all well, but I hope the Giants do lose and go 1-4. So I'm just letting you know that right now.
It won't be anything we're not used to as Giant fans.
Hey, I'm in the same boat, Dan. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, be more physical this week. I think that's
better than not having a win at all, but the Giants desperately need a win. Let's see if they come out with desperation and get lucky. Who knows?
Real quick, are there any teams in the NFL this year that are not with no wins this year? Is there any teams yet? I mean, I didn't even look at it. Is there? Standing wise, is there a team that has not won a game yet?
No, I think everyone's won. Up the Jags.
Really, the Jags are.
The Jags are 0-4.
Who would have thought that, Dan?
The Bengals are 1-3.
Wow.
Who else is really crappy?
Oh my God.
We're 1-3. The Rams are 1. The Rams are 1-3.
The Rams have no Puka, no Cup. So
without them they're screwed.
Right. Carolina, we expected 1-3. The Giants, I thought would be 1-3, 2-2 going in here, but
Kansas are 1-3. But the NFC South looks like it could be competitive between three teams.
Dan,
look at the NFC North. You got Packers at 2-2, the Bears at 2-2, the Lions at 3-1, the Vikings at 4-0.
Dan, the funny thing before I want to get out of here real quick, I wanted to mention one thing. Remember last year we talked about in the season, we went down every division and we said the AFC North was going to be the toughest damn division in football, right? Pittsburgh 3-1, Baltimore 2-2, Cleveland 1-3, Cincinnati 1-3.
Remember we were talking about Cleveland. I was talking about how's their offense going to be.
Oh man, I tell you what,
the Browns have 66 points total.
Yeah.
66, and they've given up 87. 66 total points in 4 weeks.
Okay, do you blame Deshaun Watson, or what do you do?
Not necessarily, because I don't think their offensive line has played well. I think it sucks.
Dan, when we played him, he was running for.
And they don't have
Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's out. Yeah,
that's a big difference. They know they have to throw.
But the thing is, too, Dan, you owe him so much money. You have to live with them. Just live with them, tank with them, and go get a pick, Dan. Because $200 million he still owed, Dan? $200 million he still owed on the contract. Guaranteed money, Dan.
Yeah, he's got a 61.5. He hasn't had 200 yards in a game once. He has 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, 727 yards.
That is just bad, guys. That is just bad, guys. But before we get out of here, guys, make sure you subscribe to Allenbach Sports Entertainment on X, YouTube, and follow us on Facebook. We have new shows coming up, and we have big things coming up. As soon as I'm able to get back in the house, the lab, and get things going, we are going to have some new shows coming, of course. So make sure you subscribe, of course.
Kyle Pitts Z's. The Jets offense is also Z's.
It is. Oh my God.
No offense to Jets fans. Oh my goodness gracious. I guess Rodgers should have played the preseason.
Well, him and Salad's arguing on the sidelines. I want to hug you. It's this, it's that. We can't find Garrett Wilson. He's not happy.
I can't play in the preseason. I got to meditate on the sideline. That's Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, Dan, let's play that real quick. Hey, Paul, your turn. Sorry, Dan, I had to meditate real quick. That's what it was like. Where I got to go into what was it, Dan? Last year, the year before he got injured, I had to go in my dark room. Is that what
I have to get into my Zen zone.
Oh God,
some crap.
Bullshit. Yeah, but hey, what it is. So Dan, take us out of here, man.
All right, but everybody have a good night. Go Giants. Let's see if they can win on Sunday. And hopefully get a good game tonight. And I will see you at 8 p.m. tomorrow night on Big Blue Power Hour. Everybody have a good night, and me and Paul will see you next Thursday.